I'm Brian Van from SportBikeTrackU.com, and today we're going to do a little bit of wrenching. We're going to throw a BMC air filter into this bike right here. This is one of my 2008 Yamaha R6s. We've been asked many times before, what kind of project is it to put an air filter in the bike? This is one of the most popular performance upgrades, no doubt. We sell a lot of great brands here for this. BMC is probably the most popular, Piper Cross and K&N stuff. Very popular modification, and what we're going to do today is we're going to show you how we do it on our own bike. If after you see this you don't think you can do it yourself, take it into a licensed motorcycle mechanic and have them do it. As with anything you do to your bike, it's important that you do it right, because if you don't, it could cause a safety concern. This bike might be a little bit different than yours because this is a track-only bike, but the procedure itself is going to be relatively similar. We're going to start by removing the seat, because what we have to do is we have to be able to get the gas tank either up so we can get to the airbox or off. For this purpose, I'm going to go ahead and remove the gas tank from the bike completely. That way you're going to be able to have a good, clean image, unobstructed, of what it takes to get this done. Maybe a couple of pieces of trim that need to come off on the Yamaha R6 to access the gas tank mounting bolts. This gas tank on the Yamaha is held on 4 different places. We've got a main bolt back here that is kind of a pivot. We've got a bolt here on the side, another one on the shifter side of the bike, and then we have the 4th one up here. I have a steering dampener on this motorcycle, right? I have a pit bull steering damper, and that may or may not be a part you have installed in your bike. So the damper part may not be of any relevance to your install on your own bike. Please understand too, from every manufacturer year, it's going to be a little bit different. There are going to be some different variances, but I think overall this is going to give you a pretty clear idea of exactly what it takes to do this project. Leave yourself time. You know, don't plan the air filter installation 10 minutes before you're going to go on a big group ride, right? So you're in a big rush to do it. You want to take the time, do it right. There's a lot of great resources available online to help get you through projects like this if you do have questions. The forums are a great resource. Most places now you can find the service manuals online. And then of course, if you have a riding buddy who's done this before, they can also get involved and help you out. I have to remove a portion of the bracketry for my pit bull damper, right? For the R6, they made the bracket into 2 pieces to allow for easy gas tank removal, taking advantage of that cool design right now. I'm going to flip that up and out of the way. Now we're able to easily tilt the tank up. Realistically, if you chose to, you could do the work like this. You didn't want to pull the tank. I'm going to go ahead and remove the tank from the bike. That way we can give you a real clear, clean look at exactly what we're doing. In order to do that, I need to remove this pivot bolt and then disconnect a couple of electrical connectors, as well as the fuel lines from the bike. This is something everyone may or may not be comfortable with, okay? Especially the fuel portion of it. With all these electrical connectors here, it's also important, don't just go ripping these off, okay? Don't pull on the wires. You see I'm pulling on the connector. The release tab, if you want to zoom in here, Josh, is right here. You push the release tab and you see I'm pulling on the electrical connector itself to get it off, not the wires. You pull on the wires, you're going to make a mess. This is a piece they have on the fuel line, right? It's a support so that the fuel line does not become kinked and restrict the flow. It's important that you save this and it makes it back onto the motorcycle. I'm going to switch sides real quick. It's not a bad idea to have a shop rag, because this fuel in the line, it's going to be under a little bit of pressure, okay? Not a ton, but a little bit. What we need to do for this bike is I need to push in to release the fuel line, and then take your time. You can kind of hear it go and rotate it off. You can feel it starting to come. and there it is. Just a little bit of fuel came out. We've got a good clean shot now at the top of the air box. This is what we need to get off. I'm going to use, for the purpose of this video, a screw gun. If you choose to do that when you run the stuff back down, be careful. It's probably going to be best to use a standard screwdriver. You don't want to go damaging the fasteners, breaking anything off the airbox. Screws are off. We're able to remove the cover, and you can have a look inside the airbox now. To remove this filter, we've got a couple of release tabs up here. We're going to pull on those, pull it back. Yeah, I'd say this one's done. This one is definitely ready to be changed, and this is just a stock Yamaha air filter. We're going to look down inside the box here, see if we have any debris that needs to be removed. Nothing really major on this one. This is just a couple pieces of race rubber that get caught up in the intake. Not a big deal. Now, this air filter is BMC's race-only model, and what they want you to do is you have to install this plate on this filter. You know, we could get into all kinds of debates on you know, which air filter is the best, all that stuff. I mean, realistically, I suppose there'd be a lot of great arguments for that. The purpose of this video is simply just to show you what it takes to replace an air filter on your bike. BMC makes a great product, so we sell a ton of it, so does Piper Cross. We'll let all the brands argue back and forth over which one is going to get the best dyno result. I'm going to go ahead and thread this on. All these screws are on the opposite side of the filter, okay? So they're on the intake side. They're sealed away from the actual motor side, so there's no need for any type of Loctite or anything. It's plastic filter body, so realistically, once you've got these torqued down, I don't think you have to worry about them coming out. They certainly can't make it over to the motor. Air filter's assembled. We're going to go ahead and get it into the airbox now. You can see there's some locator tabs here, and you get those in between the airbox like so. Let's go ahead and get those in place, and kind of wiggle the filter around a little bit. Get it ready to dip in, kind of hear it click in. Once you tighten this airbox up completely, it's going to force the filter down, and you're going to get a nice clean seal against the gasket in the airbox, which is absolutely important. Go ahead and put the top of the airbox back on only after you've looked down in each one of these holes, Josh, right, inside the throttle bodies, and make sure you have not dropped anything down there. You drop anything down there and fire this bike up, it's going straight into the cylinder. Unless it's really soft, you're going to have one serious headache on your hands, and you're going to wind up with engine damage. And that's something nobody wants. At the end of the day, you're trying to make the bike better, not blow it up by putting an air filter in it. Okay, I'm going to push the airbox down into place, and I'm going to use a screw gun here for reinstall, and just get everything just started, right? Don't run any of them down until you have every single screw started. It's probably best if you're to use a hand screwdriver versus a screw gun. Like I said, I've wrenched for a long time, so I'm comfortable with the screw gun, and I've chosen to use it. Okay, airbox is tight. If you've unplugged anything after removing the gas tank, okay, if there were any electrical connectors, make sure you've done that before you move on to the next step, which is putting the tank back on the motorcycle. I'm going to begin with the fuel line. Make sure you hear that positive engagement. Most bikes are going to have a safety clip here. This motorcycle has had that removed previously, so it's not there. So most bikes are going to have a safety clip that works in conjunction with the clip built into the line, so you do not have any issues with that line coming loose. Next up is going to be your electrical connectors on the fuel pump. Go ahead and push those in. And like I showed you in the very beginning, the R6 has this fuel line support. It's important that you make sure you get that back in there as well. What you don't want to do is you don't want to be eliminating any of the stock components on your motorcycle when you're doing this job. Make sure that you get everything put back exactly as you found it. pivot bolt for the tank. What I'm going to do now is I'm not going to tighten anything down all the way. I'm going to get the bolts in place. I'm going to start them. I'm going to leave everything a little bit loose because remember, we need to work through each 4 of these connections and make sure that we're able to get all the bolts in. If you tighten something down prematurely, you might get to the front of the tank and might have a difficult time starting the actual fastener for the steering damper. We'll come up to the damper now. This is going to be different for every bike. You may or may not have a damper on your motorcycle. You should. And you might have a different style. There's a lot of great brands out there. You know, the one I've chosen to run on my bike is Pitbull. I really like their products quite a bit. And this is what you'll have to do if you're riding a Pitbull damper on your R6. Let's go ahead and get that one started loosely. Okay, I've got the main bolt for the support tight there for the steering damper bracket. I'm going to line up the forwardmost mount for the fuel tank. Remember, like everything we do, double check all of your work as you go through each step, just to make sure that you haven't left anything loose. It's very important, especially with like a steering damper, that you've got that mount tight. If the mount for the damper is not tight, you will not be able to enjoy the benefits of the steering damper because you're going to have that loose spot in there. Let's go ahead and snug up the bolts that retain the fuel tank. All right, let's go ahead and put the side trim for the fuel tank back on. And now the seat pan, like so. As you can see, this isn't really a huge project. We've been in the airbox this bike several times, okay? So it's not new territory for us. But I think realistically for most bikes, you know, give yourself some time, be patient. You run into issues, utilize the resources at your disposal, forums, right? Great place to look and ask questions. A lot of guys have been there and done that. Remember, every bike that you see, every model is going to be different onto itself. They are all unique machines. Once you got everything done, take a minute, double check all the fasteners. Okay, make sure even the seat, everything is tight. The last thing you want to do is have a problem while you're out there riding. Okay? Last but certainly not least, let's make sure the bike will actually run.